Hello everyone, my name is Steven Zapata. I'm a concept artist, illustrator, online art teacher, and former instructor at Art Center College of Design. I would like to introduce you to my new drawing course, Form from Imagination, a course designed to help you draw with confidence from your mind. Maybe you want to be a professional illustrator or designer, maybe you want to be a master with a pencil, or maybe you just want to be the best artist that you can be. Beautiful goals. But it's not always clear how to improve the work that you do from imagination. Over the past 6 months, I've taken all of the little eurekas, tips, and essential exercises that gave me confidence drawing from my mind and compiled them into a sequential course. We start with the absolute foundations, covering the scientific nature of light and shadow, how to hatch, how to create flat tones, how to render spheres and cubes, and step by step, we move through combined shapes, complex shapes, organic shapes. We cover how to simplify extremely complex subjects like the head into basic shapes so that you can handle them more easily from your head. We look at how to understand and treat details. And by the end of these 14 chapters with over 50 video lessons, you'll be ready to do complex designs from your mind with fidelity and energy. And all the demos are done in pencil on paper, so you can do all of the assignments even if you don't have a fancy digital art setup. But I also have demos, instructions, and modifications to the assignments for those who do want to do them digitally. Here's how it works. Go to formfromimagination.com and sign up for the course. Download the assignment book and start watching the lectures. Do the assignments at your own pace. Take your time with them and use this self-study to develop your patience. When you're done, post your assignments in the exclusive community hub, and I'll personally critique your work with drawovers, diagrams, and advice. I want you to know, this course is no joke just because it's online. It is challenging content, and it is more complete than it would be if I was teaching this class at an art college as I have before. If I was teaching this class in person at Art Center today, I would just play these videos in class, knowing full well that they're the most concise, focused, edited, step-by-step way to convey the material. So I'm serious when I say, this course isn't just a substitute for a college-level course, it's better than a college-level course. And you don't have to pay thousands of dollars per credit and wind up hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So thank you for checking out the course, thank you for watching this and for your support, and thank you for drawing and making your artwork. The world needs it. I'll see you soon.
Come in. Oh.
Hello, Joseph, is it?
Hi, Dr. Zapata. Yes, Joseph, Joe. How are you?
I'm well. What seems to be the problem, Joe?
Well, I'm having difficulty drawing from imagination.
Oh, Joseph, just so you know, that's totally normal. Why don't you tell me a little more about your problem? Is it that you can only draw from imagination if you're completely alone?
Doc, I can't ever draw from imagination.
What about if you're completely relaxed?
When I'm totally relaxed, I can't imagine a thing.
I see. Joseph, it's important to know that even with severe cases like this, there's always hope. I can prescribe an experimental therapy called Form from Imagination.
Form from imagination?
Mm-hmm. It's early days, but clinical trials are extremely promising. Why don't you try this for 6 months and then check back in with me?
Okay, I'll do whatever it takes. Did you just draw this?
Oh yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. Hey, Doc, do you ever have trouble drawing from imagination?
Oh no.
You wouldn't, I mean, you do this.
That's right.
Wow.
Form from Imagination is an experimental therapy and is not yet approved for use by the FDA. Do not use Form from Imagination if you are already taking any prescriptions for drawing from reference, working side size, or tracing photos you didn't even take. Stop taking Form from Imagination if you experience any of these side effects: loss of interest in your personal projects, megalomaniacal self-confidence, hallucinations, unless they're the kind you're hoping for, drawing better than Steven Zapata, or feelings that purchasing the course was enough and you don't really need to do the exercises. Call your doctor if you have stiff gestures, flat forms, or boring ideas to address a possible life-threatening condition. Full sketchbooks have been reported with form from imagination and medicines like it. Other risks include long-term art careers, too many clients, and being worth more than you're charging for. Call your doctor today and ask about form from imagination. Fellow travelers, can you hear me okay? My drawing cam is upside down. I'm dashing because I've got to be very tight today. Less than an hour for our morning coffee. Because I've got to time my run for errands with alternate side parking here in New York. Got to run to Home Depot, get more stuff for the studio, for working on the studio. Get some gear. Hello to Neil. Zepto, firing Samiku Shanaya. Dixirmos. Chady on fire. Peter Vedcruise. My mouth is all messed up. Gary Hughes, Ali Z, Muffin, Plaizy, Lorenzo Lopez, Matej Goyar, L_. And all we need to do is sketch. I think I've got a blending stump in here somewhere that has some brown already on it. Dashing about. So much to do lately. Fiery, electric energy in the air. It's electric. Bum, 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 bum. Am I too loud? It looks like I'm peaking. Nah, I'm probably all right. Let's see if this is dark enough. No. I think I gotta change the mode here. 1 second. Vivid. That ought to make it a little easier to see what I'm doing. This is the good stuff right here. Good paper, but I'm just gonna use it like a sketchbook, as I've advised you all to do many times. Thanks for being here, everybody. And if you're here, I'm sure you're drawing. I see a lot of chat coming through. And here I am, focused on drawing. Our daily bread, you know? As in like our spiritual sustenance, our manna. Not money bread. Hey, Joey. Niccolo Ravioli de Mozzarella III. As Joe said, great name change, Nick. Just leaning right into it. Is anybody watching Chimp Crazy? Amazing. Crazy people are the best. Every time I see something like that, I'm like, damn, how do I get more crazy? How do I get that crazy? Also, when you guys watch something like this, does it ever bother you like how rich crazy people and criminals are? Like they're like living such good lives. And it's like, yeah, they're nuts. And they're gonna wind up in prison, but it's like, damn, nice house. And they sure look like they're having fun. Hello, Renolo Dominguez. It looks scary. I have to say, it is hard to watch. I find just the, I find the nature of the visuals very, it's difficult for me to watch. Malmix says, hi, Steve, I'm sorry, but again, I've got a question regarding your workshop. Do you have an idea which time you would do it? I will probably be putting that out, like making the workshops available within the next couple days. So keep an eye out for that. There will, we'll do 2 classes. And what's worked for me before, and I'm probably not gonna change it, is do a Wednesday and a Saturday unit, and the Wednesday will be in the evening Eastern time, and Saturday would be like early afternoon, like noon to early afternoon. Eastern time. That way we can, that way it hits a couple time zones. Again, I haven't gone in and gotten the final numbers for this yet, but so the Wednesday would be something like 6 to 10 p.m. ET, or like 5 to 9 ET. And the Saturday would be like 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. ET. I think I'm going to try to do the double, by the way. Going to do the 2-month. Give it a shot. I just got excited for it because I sat down the other day to try to write out like, all right, what would I do if I had a 8-week curriculum instead of 4? And I wound up getting pumped for it because the 4, I know what it is, 4 weeks is a little tight for what you can lecture about. I wind up focusing on like some metacognitive stuff. But when I had the wiggle room of 8 classes, it was like I could talk more about design. I could have weeks where I lecture on elements of art, principles of design, things like that. So I really want to try it. When I do the 4 weeks, the lectures are like, as a rough generalization, the themes are like planning projects, which covers a lot of things that first week. It's like how to plan a project, what's a beginner, intermediate, advanced project, what makes project-based better than skill-based learning. And then the other weeks are, again, as broad generalizations, because you're fitting a lot into 4 weeks. Starting pictures is the second week. Third week is ending pictures, like finishing pictures. And then the fourth week is tips for self-teaching as they move on. But if I do an 8-week class, then I can do all 4 of those lectures as I've done them before, but then I have 4 more lectures I could do. Bane says, hello, Stephen. Is that a monster? Are you inspired by Silent Hill? No, this isn't a monster. This is my wife. What are you talking about? I've got a reference of my wife up here on my monitor, and I'm just drawing her. Monster? What are you talking about? I never draw monsters. Everything you see on this channel is drawings of my wife and my dog. Luna says, I didn't know there was a workshop coming. Can you talk a bit more about it? I just did. I'll give more detail about it. When I put the page out, there'll be a write-up on the page explaining the structure and things like that. But yeah, if you have any more specific questions, just let me know and I'll talk about it a bit more here. But there'll be way more info coming up. My workshops are basically like high contact weeks of like mentoring, coaching on individual projects. So I don't run all the students through the same thing. I have everyone in the class, because it gets real personal. It's a lot. It takes up my whole life when I do it. I talk with everybody beforehand. I find out what their goals are, what they're interested in, where they're coming from. I get like their whole art life story. That lets me recommend to them that they do their personal projects. And then I coach them as a group through their personal projects. And that's a beautiful situation because no one's doing the same thing in the class the whole time. And that does a lot of things. One, it means that you're hearing all different kinds of feedback all the time in every class, which makes it hugely educational because you're getting like a lot of like tangential and cross-pollination. And the other thing, one of the most important things about a class is like making friends, right? And I certainly found that that was true with the experiences I've had with the workshop so far. People have actually like become genuine friends. They're working together on projects and staying in contact years and years after the workshop. Now I see that as the most important thing that the workshop does. And the good thing I think about how I run the workshops is that because basically no one's doing the same thing, it removes, let's be honest here, if you're all doing the same thing in a class, it's almost inevitable for a lot of people, there's like a weird sense of competition creeping in, and it can make it a little harder to just be friends. When everybody's working on like their heart, on the secret bird that is trapped inside of their ribcage, it removes that direct comparison, and you just get to see your peers for their real creativity. It removes the competitive angle in a lot of senses. So the competitive angle shouldn't be there in general, just this format makes it much easier. It automatically kind of removes it. You could just support each other. And then because everybody's doing something that like they're personally interested in, you get to actually know you get to actually know your peers based on like their creativity, like their personality, instead of I really don't know anything about them. We're all just in this class drawing nude figures together. You know, I don't know. I only have rare opportunities to see how their brain ticks and things like that. And that makes it much more likely, I think, that people will sort of hit it off and have a spark and become like real friends and things like that. It's worked so far. Yeah, I was asked to describe my workshop, and all I talked about was like emotions there. So you know what kind of guy I am. It can be in Spanish? No, I'm sorry. I don't speak Spanish well enough to actually teach a class at that level in Spanish. No, it'd all be in English. Maybe someday, if my Spanish improves greatly. It always winds up being very high level stuff, so I can't be limited in like my vocabulary and my fluency. Nick Ravioli says, in person only, so sadly only for those of us on US soil. Well, there's always YouTube. No, this workshop is online. I would love to do in-person workshops in the future, but that's much harder to set up. A lot of other considerations. Yeah, this is not an in-person workshop I'm talking about. It's online. When you're not streaming, do you work in complete silence? I do work in silence a lot, not always. I usually don't do music. I don't like music while I draw. I do some kind of spoken word thing. Wow, spoken word, like beat poetry. I'll listen to a podcast or mostly audiobooks. Audiobooks are my favorite thing to listen to while I work. Music more and more rarely these days. I find I don't know, I used to listen to music all the time while I work, but it just doesn't feel right anymore. I find music more annoying than anything. Very like distracting, irritating. And if I'm really vibing on a song, it makes me just want to get up and dance. So then I just get irritated that I get fidgety that I just have to keep sitting in my chair. How muscles work. They have tendons on both ends, and the only thing a muscle does is contract towards the center of its muscle belly. That's what muscles do. It's a very simple mechanism that is made very complicated by the interactions and the different shapes. But a fiber of a muscle, it only has one function. It's either relaxed and long, or it contracts by doing work, and when it contracts, it literally just shrinks towards the middle. And all those bundles together, that's why when your bicep, for example, is relaxed, it is long and flat, and then when it bends, it gets short and bulbous. Apologies that I don't have the arm of a life drawing model to make that point more clear. But that's all they do. That's all every muscle does. It just contracts towards the center of its muscle belly. That's it. And that is, surprisingly, a lot of people miss that point. And it does actually do a lot of work in anatomy knowledge. That actually does clarify a lot of mysteries and explains how you're supposed to design muscles when you're trying to communicate whether they're passive or active. And that's it. That's how muscles work. The rest is their morphology, their particular shape, where they insert, what their origin is, which muscles they're hauling on. I guess another aspect of how they work that a lot of people miss is most muscles, remember, most muscles aren't doing their job on the bone they sit on. That's counterintuitive for a lot of people, but that's something you need to remember. Like your pectoral muscle, right? It's not doing, what's the job of the pectoral muscle? It's to adduct the arm like this, right? And in combination with other muscles, it does more subtle things, but its main job is to adduct the arm, bring it closer to the center line of the body. But the pectoral muscle sits on the rib cage, right? But it doesn't do anything to the rib cage. The rib cage gives it leverage and stability, but it does its job over the joint. And all muscles do that. That's their mechanics. So your bicep, your tricep, they sit on your upper arm. They have nothing to do with your upper arm. They have, again, origins on your upper arm, but their function is all on the lower arm. The huge mass of your thighs on your upper leg, those quadriceps, your hamstrings, all of that's the massiest muscle group in your body. it has nothing to do with your upper leg. It doesn't do a damn thing. It moves the knee. It moves the knee and it moves the lower leg. It does have some to do. I mean, up top, particular muscle groups help lift the thigh. But for the most part, like your quadriceps are all about just extending your lower leg, you know? So a lot of people miss that too. Remember, the function of a muscle group is happening over a joint, and it's not happening on the bone that it actually sits on. That helps with memorizing the muscles, because when you're trying to memorize the insertions and stuff like that, you know, all right, well, if it's on this bone, I know its insertions are on another bone, right? It's not going to be inserting here on this bone. Steven, did you finish Sapiens? I was only an hour away, and then my these days I'm listening to my audiobooks on Spotify because I already have a Spotify premium, and they included audiobooks on there. I ran out of minutes, which I didn't know. I didn't know it was limited, so that was frustrating. I was only an hour away. Now I can't finish it. I have to wait until it renews at the end of the month. Good book though. I liked it. I used to listen to podcasts or DVD commentaries when drawing, but that's way too distracting now. Yeah, it's interesting. I think we go through phases, you know? I'll definitely go through a phase where all I want to do is listen to music while I draw. But that's rarer these days than spoken word. But I'm sure it'll come up again at some point. And then I'll be sick of hearing people talk. These days, my chances to sit and just draw in silence are so rare. They're few enough and far in between that when I have the chance, I sit and relish it, you know? I'm always streaming, teaching, recording, all this stuff that means that there's some extra layer going on when I draw. So when I can just sit in silence and not do anything else but draw, yeah, it's easy to enjoy it because it comes up so rarely. And just, yeah, nothing. Ite says, what do you think of Jordan Peterson, if at all? I believe the world is an illusion. So I think I'm like the exact opposite of Jordan Peterson would probably say I'm the devil. And I don't know. Jordan Peterson gives me High Inquisitor vibes. I'll be completely honest. The crying, the pathos, the high energy, the thinking that he's unlocked the secrets of the universe and all of that. It strikes me as the kind of guy who's gonna make an example of somebody in a public square. That's just my, I've listened to, you know, many years ago, I stopped listening to him. Like everybody else, I listened to him when he came out. When did he start? When was his star on the rise? Like 2015 or something like that? Was it around then? When that was going on, I was like, all right, well, who is this dude? And like everybody else, I checked it out. But I haven't listened to anything from him in a very long time. Sometimes he'll show up on another podcast that I listen to, and that's what every time he does, I'm like, whoa, strong High Inquisitor vibes coming off of Jordan Peterson right now. But It's a little intense. Don't you want to sometimes, when you hear him, don't you just want to put your hand on his shoulder, just be like, dude, chill the fuck out. Like, just relax. I don't think that guy can relax about much. Joe says Steve does a great Jordan Peterson. I don't know about that. All of my impressions are pretty bad, I think. And I'll spare them the Jordan Peterson because there's probably a bunch of people in here who love him to death. And they're hurting right now. They're sad that I said anything but glowing remarks about King Lobster. Digital Arcast says, hey buddy, been a minute. Hi Gordy, how you doing, man? How is life in the slower lane treating you? You ever gonna ramp back up to shout at the AI crew? Would love to have you back on the podcast. Yeah, I will definitely come on, man. I'm definitely not in the slow lane right now. I'm trying to get ready to shoot my new course. So I've been doing a bunch of restructuring of the studio and studio improvement stuff. And well, that's even just recently. I've been writing scripts like crazy and my editor's going. But I will hopefully have that. I'm doing like the heavy lift on it right now to get it off the ground over these next like 2 weeks. And then once after that like 2 week span, then that just goes ongoing. But I can have it more just on a, I have to do that every morning for 3 hours. So I will control I'll be able to control my schedule a little more after that. And then we should totally touch base. It's good to hear from you, man. If you guys want to listen to a podcast with a lot of great interviews with a lot of great artists, go check out the Digital Artcast. I've been on there. There's a podcast with me on there. You had taken a break for a while when you sustained your arm injury, right? Around there, and but I think you're fully back now. I've been seeing you put out a lot. Am I right? John Ooze says, were you drawing cute girls on the previous stream because that makes you sleepy? Or was that coincidence? It was coincidence, but in the middle of the stream, I did realize that. I was like, oh my God, I am so bored of this. This is great. I slept like a baby after that. Stephen, how do you go about gathering references without getting bored or frustrated by the lack of results in the search? I mean, I don't know what to tell you, man. That's just part of the job. There's parts of it that are boring or frustrating, but If that is like a chronic problem for you, like if you're not just asking just because there was a recent one-off session where you found you were bored to tears by looking for reference, but if it's habitual, stop using references that you find online. Part of being an artist is making as much of your process interesting as possible so that you'll keep doing it. So for you, that might mean never using references that other people have made. Go shoot yourself, shoot your friends, build models, things like that. It may take longer, but always think of it this way. It may take longer to do it that way, but if you do it that way, you'll actually do it. Where if you do it the faster way, you'll quit and not draw anything. Which one is better? It's doing it the longer, impractical way, right? I have a bunch of stuff like that in my process. There's tons of things that I do that are impractical, and there's faster ways to do them. But I do them the impractical way because if I do them the impractical way, I'll enjoy it and I'll actually do it. It's that simple. Stephen, why are you telling us to shoot people? Context clues, reading comprehension. Did you pass it? Basic reading comprehension. But I guess there's only so much reading comprehension I can expect from a bunch of drawing people, right? Digital Artcast says, oh yeah, trying to keep it up post-surgery, been flexing the drawing arm as much as I can. I'm fully on the 2D train. I took a decision early on to just say, fuck 3D work, because even though it's stable, it's not really where my heart lies as I want to tell stories. That's awesome. I love it. Go with the heart. Wow, fully on the 2D train now. Nice, man. Luna says, yeah, it's a chronic problem, and I'm also referring to historical reference and stuff like that. Oh, if you need historical reference for like concepts and stuff like that, that is a temperament thing. So if you're talking about, I'm looking for accurate historical references for things like the costumes this tribe wears, or what people dress like in medieval Europe and stuff like that. The expectation, the current expectation, it's all contingent on current cultural tastes. The current expectations that stuff should be reasonably historically accurate. That benchmark is unfortunately being set by people who love doing that. So if your heart is not really in it, like you've got to find a way to get really interested. And is it hard? Does it kind of suck? Is it difficult to do? Yes. And that's why the people who do it well, that's why their work stands out and why it looks special. It's not an easy thing to do. It's actually not something that you can actually reasonably expect to do well. It is actually part of the designer's skill set, and people are better at it or worse than it. It's not like, how to deprogram this? Finding great, accurate historical references that translate well into artwork is not actually a baseline skill that everyone is supposed to be good at or able to do. It's actually a borderline academic pursuit that needs to be driven by freakish devotion and love for the craft that only people who put in tons of work will be able to do well and to repeat over and over again. And that's why it's hard to be a costume designer or the head of the costume department in Hollywood or something like that. When you do that, you are theoretically like in the same realm as those people. That's not an easy job, and it's not a job everyone can do. That's why it's hard to get that job, do that job, be successful at that job. So if it's hard, if it sucks, On that level, if you're trying to do it for design reasons, I don't know if you're trying to be an illustrator, concept artist, whatever, if you're trying to do it to that level, to be a concept artist, to be a designer, there's no nice way to say it, but it's like, it doesn't matter if it's hard. If you're trying to do it to try to do the job, you are competing with freaks who love doing that stuff. And they have huge folders and they buy books and they go to museums and they invest tons of money into getting good at those kinds of things and knowing those kinds of things. So the unfortunate truth is, if you want to compete with them on that level, you need to just bite the bullet, accept that it sucks, and get really good at that. Really, really good at that. I have a pretty high tolerance for that stuff. I enjoy doing it to some degree, but I can't do it to the level of like a Ryan Meinerding or Marko Djurdjevic or something like that. Those people are willing to go really, really, really far, and they can tolerate way more research than most people can, right? Like, there's probably a part of you that is like, all right, well, it really should only take me a day or two to research this. And the truth is that when you work on a job or when you meet these people, no. They're comfortable not drawing anything for months and only researching. You have to ask yourself honestly, are you comfortable just doing academic historical research for months and putting the pencil the fuck down? Are you really comfortable with that as a person? Do you think that you can not have a panic attack on a deadline while you not draw and just compile huge amounts of historical information for a month? And a month is short. On the professional level, people are doing this years, 6 months to a year. That's all they're doing because they don't worry about the drawing. They're like, I know if I get accurate, great stuff, the drawings will handle themselves. You really got to ask yourself, like, are you that kind of person? You know, can you do that? You know, that's really the level that it's operating on. You know, that might have made you, I'm sorry if that's not the kind of advice that makes you feel better about things, but I wanted to give you realistic advice. If you're, most people who are interested in historical research, historical reference, things like that, they're comparing themselves to modern living concept artists, production designers, people doing commercial projects. Unfortunately, people who are doing commercial projects where the amount of time spent on that research is part of the budget, they're getting paid to do it, but it's part of the job. Really is part of the job. So if you're trying to do it to a high level, you've got to bite the bullet on it, be willing to invest that much time and not freak out while you do it. Just accept that it's part of the job. And if you're not willing to work that hard on it, you need to not crush yourself with expectations and unrealistic comparisons. You have to accept, and by the way, it's okay to accept this. You have to accept that your work is not going to look as good as theirs, that your work is not going to look as good or historically accurate as the work that you like. By the way, big red blinking lights, that's an okay thing to accept. Do not let perfect be the enemy of the good in that regard. You just have realistic expectations instead of unrealistic expectations that keep you from finishing the work. Steven, do you have any tips on making the drawing process more vulnerable? I struggle with connecting with my deep self. More vulnerable. I mean, the first gateway is always just, what are you drawing? A lot of people are very afraid to do personal content. If you haven't done that, just, there's a lot to be said about meditating and doing automatic drawing. There's all sorts of woo-woo stuff, and I like the woo-woo stuff. There's all sorts of woo-woo stuff you can do to try to pull things out of your unconscious and things like that. But like, step one, the lowest hanging fruit is just, what are you drawing? Like, are you hoping to connect your deep self while drawing like fan art or like cute girls and cute boys? Because I know a lot of people who have had these discussions with, who they're all, the talk is all woo-woo and grandiose and quite grandiloquent about what they're going to pull out of their unconscious. But then the content of the drawings is, this is Wolverine. So what's going on, right? Like, there's often a dissonance there. So check with yourself. The first low-hanging fruit is, have you actually just tried to draw vulnerable things? Have you actually just tried to draw about your father's death, your brother's betrayal, that breakup, your psychotic episode, I'm just trying to, the abuse that you suffered, things like that. Like, I'm sorry that I have to say those things, but that is, have you tried it? Have you tried to, because art helps with those things. If you're careful, if you move into it softly, right? And we all have dark things in our past and in our unconscious and things like that. But we're really afraid to touch it, like super afraid to just actually go anywhere near it and poke it, So don't get too in your head about, like, how do I pull out my deep self before you've actually seen. You could probably name the deepest, most hurt, most vulnerable things about you. Have you actually just tried to draw them, to draw about them, right? If you've tried that directly and it doesn't work, then get woo-woo. Then start looking for weird techniques and things like that. But I think that's kind of missing the point until you've actually seen if, well, can I actually just face this directly, And obviously, I'm not saying draw those things like literally, right? Like, I'm not saying like, all right, you want to make work about your father's death, you don't need to draw your dad in his coffin, right? I mean, you can embroider everything into symbol and things like that, but you'll know I'm doing it about that, right? I don't mean drawing it literally, I just mean drawing it directly, but symbols are direct, It doesn't mean the audience needs to know exactly what it's about, but you need to know exactly what it's about. All right, like I said, today had to be a fast one because I've got to run and get back to studio improvement. So I'm going to start signing off here. So if anybody has any last questions, just throw them in the chat. I'm going to leave that sketch there. There's our little morning coffee sketch. Classic monster. Classic monster. I was diddled by Grimace from McDonald's. All right, now, I just want you to know, that's not funny. That's not a funny thing to make fun of. But Grimace from McDonald's is objectively funny. That is an objectively funny character. There's no getting around that. I'm caught in a horrible cognitive dissonance right now. I wish I'd never said this sentence, but here we are. Here we are. Zach Feldman says, morning, Steven, just dropped my daughter off at school. Glad to catch you for a few moments. Unfortunately, now I'm signing off. But I hope that your daughter drop-off went well. And I hope that you keep drawing today. McDonald's coffee is pretty good. Burnt and weak, that's how I like it. Are you planning on ever covering character design? I will in my design course. At some portion of it. It's still a little up in the air how we're gonna divide the design course. The syllabus is big. The curriculum for the design course is frightening in length. But I've always wanted to do a really in-depth design course. So it's in there. It might wind up being, we might have to split the course in two, and design fundamentals would be part one, and then design application, that is to say particular assets like characters, would be part two, but it would be in there for sure. Is there a point of restarting your course after a 2-month break? Of course, just keep going. It don't matter. Taking a break has no effect. I mean, pick up where you left off. People lose momentum. They bounce off of things too easily. Just keep going. What game do you like the monster designs? Oh, all the Dark Souls stuff I love. Yeah, I love all the creature designs in all the Souls games. Bloodborne will always have a special place in my heart because that's my favorite game, and that was the first Souls-like I ever played. Love all the monster designs in that. I wanted to play Black Myth Wukong. The stuff I'd seen in the trailers and stuff like that looked awesome, and I like how they wind up getting a very different design sense because they're hedging close to it seems close to the more classical, like Chinese aesthetic. I really want to look at that. I can't launch it, unfortunately, so we're gonna have to wait a while to play Black Myth. I did pick up Lies of P though. Maybe we'll try that on stream soon. Different kinds of designs, different kinds of monsters, but I've been interested in Lies of P. I've just been so busy for a long time. I wanted to play when did Lies of P come out? Last year? I wanted to play it when it came out, but the hype came and went, and I just had too much to do. But I did pick it up recently, and given that I can't play Black Myth Wukong, maybe we'll try Lies of P on stream sometime. It'll be good once you're able to play. I really want to try Black Myth Wukong. I'm sure they'll patch the problem that my processor is happening soon, but yeah, it doesn't open on my PC right now. All right, there's my alarm, folks. I gotta go. Thank you everybody for being here. I will see you all soon, and happy drawing today. And what else do I have to say? Yeah, people were asking about the workshop. I will put out info on that. Not just info, but probably the signups. I will put a page up on my website sometime today or tomorrow, and that'll have, an explanation of how it works, what the dates are, the different times. There'll be a Wednesday class and a Saturday class available. We'll cap it around 10 students each class, but that's just the cap. If it's lower than that, we'll run with that, and then that'll give us a little more wiggle room in the classes. And yeah, we're gonna run the 2-month version because I really want to try that. So, and the price, I'm thinking $1,400 right now for anyone who's interested. But all that info will be up when I put the page up. So I'll make when I do that, I'll make a community post, Instagram post. I'll talk about it on streams. You'll all see it. So for anyone who's interested, keep that in mind. And I will probably, I have people coming to the apartment to do stuff, to do work on the place tomorrow. So probably Friday, I'll see you guys again. No, maybe we'll do a stream tomorrow night instead. We'll see. Will it list what time of day the class will be held? Yes. Yeah. It'll have everything. It'll be the dates. It's going to be a nice, comfortable way to do it because there'll be 2 weeks off in the 2 months. So technically it will run October, November, and first week of December. And the way the 2 weeks off work is going to be really nice because it'll be the first week off is after the first week of class. So people have extra time to plan their project. And then the second week off is before the last class. So people have an extra 2 weeks to do their final deliverable. So I like that, the way that worked out. Because I had a couple trips on the books that I can't skip. But it just worked out real nice that it's like the best place for the breaks to be, to give people more time to think about what they want to do and then more time to finish all the way at the end of class. So that'll be nice. But yeah, all the dates, all the times will be on the page when I post it. It'll have all the info there. All right, everybody, I really got to go or else I'm going to get a ticket. So I got to go run and buy some gear and spruce this place up. I will see you all soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.